What's up, guys? Zack Hample back with you again here for another round of baseball show and tell. So let's start with a look at all these things right here. These are Major League Baseball media credentials. I've gotten lots of these things over the years from various stadiums, and not just media credentials, but also some guest passes as well, which I think are also cool and related. So I just want to take you through some of these things, I think in chronological order, starting from old and working our way up to new, and just give you some close-up looks at these and share with you a few of the highlights that I experienced along the way. So this is the very first one I ever got. You can see right here, I'll give you an even better look. The California Angels, as they were known in 1995. And I just love that big commemorative 35th anniversary logo in pink font on it. Just a really snazzy looking thing overall. This was the summer that I was interning with the Boise Hawks. They were affiliated with the Angels at the time, so that's why I had this special VIP access when I did finally make it to Anaheim for a couple of games that summer. And man, that was the first time that I had some legit behind the scenes access at a Major League Stadium, and just being out on the field early in the day on the outfield grass, soaking it in, I was so happy. So we're gonna skip ahead with that. There's lots more happiness to follow. This is the next one that I got 4 years later on July 29th, 1999. The Phillies, their old stadium, Veteran Stadium. I was there being filmed for CNN that day. And I remember there was no batting practice, it rained, so it was tough just to even get a toss-up before the game. And then of course the TV crew left right after the game started, and I snagged 2 foul balls after that. Not on camera, wouldn't you know it? So yeah, I just want to point out one more thing on here. You can see right where my finger is, where it says admit to, and 2 of those 4 areas are crossed out. The Phillies did not want me going into the clubhouse or the dining room. Would have been nice to get some extra special cheesesteaks that day, but I guess it wasn't meant to be. So, you know, on the Angels one, there's all this stuff printed on the back, and the Phillies one is blank on the back. Most of these things do have stuff on the back, all kinds of rules and regulations. With that, we're gonna move on to a little bit later in 1999. In fact, just 1 week after that, I was in Oakland, all right? And you can see I have 2 different passes right here. One's a media pass, one's more of a field pass for August 6th and August 8th. The first day I was filmed for Fox Sports, a TV show called In the Zone, where I was running around the seats with this kid, helping him catch balls, but we were also battling it out a bit. That's what the producers wanted to see. And then the second day was Fan Photo Day. I was actually working with Fujifilm that summer. They sponsored me. And actually the PR firm that set up a lot of interviews, you can see their name on the Phillies one. They were called Edelman right there. I'm blocking my own face, but you can see it says Edelman on this credential. So Edelman set up these interviews, the CNN, the Fox Sports, and yeah, just being on the field, I got to say hello to Jason Giambi and Ron Washington, and there were other players and coaches that dropped by. Now we skip ahead 6 years, actually no, 7 years, my math skills, 1999 to 2006. Got a couple of passes right here from the Mets. You can see they spelled my name wrong on one of them and spelled my name right on the other, typical Mets. But I was being filmed for SNY, which stands for SportsNet New York, the Mets cable network, a couple of shows called Mets Weekly and Kids Clubhouse. So just, you know, pretty cool to have a TV crew roaming the stadium with me while I ran around and tried to do my thing. Now the second day, I was interviewed by a girl named Amanda Cole. She was only 15 at the time, and she was the host of one of those shows. So we did our thing with the crew following us, trying to catch baseballs. The TV crew filmed my parents at their place, and then the segments, in addition to airing on TV, actually played on the Jumbotron at the stadium. So it was pretty wild to be back at Shea just by myself for regular games, and to see my parents and my own face up on the big screen. And you can see on the back, there are some rules and regulations about how this credential may be revoked at any time without cause. I guess if the Mets think you're ugly, they might take away your credentials. Now I have one more from 2006. Here it is. It is from Baltimore, the Orioles at Camden Yards. I was being filmed for CBS that day, the evening news with Katie Couric. Now, Katie Couric was not there. She introduced the segment when it did finally air. CBS had filmed me the day before in Philly, and at this particular game, there was only one guy following me with a little handheld camera. So you can see a picture of him sitting in the seats. You can see a picture here of me with a broken bat that I got from Ramon Hernandez over on the Orioles side. So pretty cool that that went down on the day that I was being filmed. So that was that one. We move along now to 2007. All right. This time I was back in Philly at the new current stadium, Citizens Bank Park, and I did a pregame interview with Comcast SportsNet, the Phillies network. So once again, it rained and there was no BP, but it was cool just to be in the stadium nice and early, to be down in the dugout right near Charlie Manuel when he was answering a bunch of questions from the reporters. Just all kinds of stuff that I'd never gotten to see or do. Finally, when I had these credentials, I could wander around and actually check it out. So you can see on the back of this thing, there are a million rules and regulations. And actually that day, I got a tour of the Phillies clubhouse while the Phillies were there. It was pre-game. I don't have photographs of that, but I did write a monster blog entry about it. So check the description for this video. I will throw links to blog entries, YouTube videos, TV interviews if they're actually posted online, and you can check all this stuff out. Now let's see. After 2007, I'm trying to figure out what the next one would have been. And I think we skip ahead right here to 2011. It's kind of hard to see with the white font on the yellow background, but this was the Tigers, Comerica Park in Detroit, and where it says KBS on this credential, well, that stands for Korean Broadcasting System. They did an entire hour-long documentary about me. Technically, it's only like 48 minutes because it aired on TV, but they had to account for commercial time cutting into it. But yeah, there's a whole documentary. I wish I could post the whole thing on my YouTube channel, but I think that would get me in trouble. So here's just a few little clips for you. But yeah, just really cool access being in that runway right behind home plate. I remember walking right past the groundskeeper toward home plate before the game, and then being up in the press level, the dining room, inside the press box, looking out at the field. Just always really cool to see that kind of stuff. And again, just in case anyone's curious, you can see what's on the back of this thing. I'm not even sure if that text is showing up, but you can just see there's a ton of stuff. We skip ahead to 2013. Now I have two different ones from that season. Here's the first. It's from the Twins, Target Field in Minnesota. And I was there that day nice and early at the stadium once again. I remember being down on the field and I wandered down the left field foul line. The Phillies were out early. They had a bucket of balls just sitting there, and no, I didn't steal any, but just cool to be up close to all the guys. And then I did a couple of TV interviews that day, did something for the pregame show with Roy Smalley, and then during the game, the Twins roving reporter came and found me in the outfield, and I was talking about the charity and my collection and what I do. And it's just always fun to share what I do with whoever wants to listen. And in this case, the Twins hooked it up. So that's why I was there and that's what I was doing. And on this one, there is nothing on the back, oddly enough. Now, a couple months after that, I was in Arizona, okay? And you can see what this thing looks like. It's a lot smaller. So the date was August 13th, Chase Field. I did a pregame radio interview with the D-backs. And even aside from that, they just really hooked it up, gave me a tour around the stadium. I got to sit in on the media session that Kurt Gibson, then the manager of the D-backs, did with a bunch of reporters. I could have asked Gibby a question, but I just sat there and kept my mouth shut. And then just wandering down through the service level concourse into the dugout really early in the day. Didi Gregorius was there. He remembered me from a few months earlier when I had snagged his first home run at Yankee Stadium that he ever hit in the majors. So he graciously posed for a photo while he sat near the bat rack. My buddy Heath Bell was there, so just cool to hang out with him. And the D-backs, as I've said many times, I think are the friendliest team, from the front office staff all the way down to the players. Just as long as I've been going, Chase Field is like, It's just a utopia of good vibes. I really mean that. It sounds cheesy, but in all seriousness, the D-backs know how to do things. We skip ahead to when things really started getting crazy in 2015. Now, this was July 3rd, and you know it's a big deal when your name is actually printed on a pass rather than scribbled in, spelled wrong with bad handwriting. Mets. July 3rd, 2015 was the day that I did a press conference with A-Rod at Yankee Stadium and gave him the baseball from his 3,000th career hit. So I did interviews nonstop all day. There was a crew interviewing me for a Vice Sports documentary. There was all the local news. During the game, I got up to the TV broadcast booth and I was live on the air for half an inning with Michael Kay and David Cohn. Then I jumped into the radio booth with John Sterling and Susan Waldman, and I had the fancy seats in the Legends area, free food. It was just an amazing day from start to finish. So that's this thing. And again, you can see that there are certain areas, things that have been crossed out on the credential. So it says HC and VC crossed out. And on the back, on the bottom, there's a little key. And that stands for home clubhouse and visitor clubhouse. And then F for field was also crossed out. But they did not cross off where it says PB, which stands for press box. BR is broadcast booth. I think they should have called it BB, right? And then at the end, PC, you can see, is the press conference room. So the Yankees are very meticulous about their security. They don't want anybody going anywhere where they're not supposed to be. The D-backs, meanwhile, you can see they did not cross off where it says clubhouse on this thing. So I had no reason to be in the clubhouse, but if I wanted to go there, I could have. I just didn't want to take advantage. But the Yankees are like, oh no, we are crossing off everywhere that you don't need to be. So that's that one. And then 17 days later, on July 20th, 2015, get the string out of the way, I was back in Philly with the crew filming me for Vice Sports. Now, that crew was with Triple Threat TV. They were a production company. That's why their name is written on there. So just being inside the stadium really early with them and catching a bunch of balls and running around doing my thing, that segment that Vice Sports did is one of the best things ever done on me. Again, check the description. I'll link to it there. And interestingly, if you look at this green strip on the bottom of this credential, right? Well, on the back, you can see what it says. They actually list two different colors here at the top, like red and green. And if it is green, which you can see mine is, it says clubhouse access, media availability, pre/post, meaning pregame, postgame. But if this thing were red, it says on the back, no clubhouse access. So I guess I could have gone anywhere all day with this thing, but you know, I followed the rules. I only did what I was supposed to do. So yeah, again, just a really amazing day and a really cool video segment that came out of this. One more thing in 2015, even a couple months after that, back with the Mets at Citi Field, a show called Chasing News. So I spent that day with a lady named Jessica, who was the reporter. She filmed with a GoPro and a selfie stick, sort of run and gun, handheld action being right down in it while we were running around chasing baseballs. Got up into the press level, into the press box during the game, the media dining room, saw all kinds of cool stuff that I would normally never get close to just as a normal fan walking in there. So that was pretty cool to get to do that. And we're getting down toward the end here. And this one is from September 8th, 2017. The Red Sox at Fenway Park, Boston, Massachusetts. This was arranged by a gentleman named Chris Yan, who many of you may know as Fenway Chris, if you've been watching my videos. He's basically the man at Fenway. He used to work there. He's like the mayor of Fenway Park, knows everyone, arranged a very VIP behind-the-scenes tour for him and his family, and graciously invited me to join. So we were inside the stadium very early, down on the field, in front of the Green Monster, actually going inside the Green Monster. Definitely one of the baseball highlights of my life. And then before the game, getting up to the press level in the TV booth, said hi to Dennis Eckersley, got to check out the media dining room. And then during the game, we actually went into one of the TV trucks. Of course, he knows the guys there. So I got to see how the games are actually prepared and produced for the broadcasts. really amazing. And again, like I've been saying, check the description. There is an amazing YouTube video that I filmed that day showing all of this stuff. So a huge thanks to Chris, aka Fenway Chris, all these years later for making that happen. That video is coming up on 2 million views now. And we move along to 2018, the Tampa Bay Rays at Tropicana Field. I was there to be interviewed on the pregame show for TV. And this right here is the only photo I have from that day because I was so busy doing a YouTube video. So you'll find that link in the description if you want to check it out. But a big thanks to the Rays just for being so cool and friendly over the last couple of seasons. I've gotten to know some of the executives there and they really hook it up. And you can just see what it says on the back, all these terms and conditions. I really like how the Rays have their team logo so big right here compared to, let's say, the Phillies on this one. You know, if you hold it back this far, you really can hardly tell that it says Phillies, but Rays, you know, yeah. So just, again, interesting how different teams do these things. And we have here a guest pass from last year, 2019, Busch Stadium in St. Louis. I was invited by a Cardinals employee to go up and check out the broadcast booth during the game. So of course I was really excited to get to do that. And I actually have a few more things out of frame. I'm gonna show you these really fast. I've gotten a bunch of minor league media credentials over the years, and I don't even think I've saved them all. This one is from 2017, the Frederick Keys. I did a long video that day with my buddy Alex Katz, who was pitching with the Orioles organization then. Now he's with the Royals organization, still working his way up toward the show. And in 2018, this is baseball related, not stadium related, but I was sponsored around the All-Star game and I worked with Hankook Tire at FanFest. And so you can see this big credential, this pass that they gave me, you know, in Washington, D.C. at the convention center. I just think that's kind of neat. And this is one of my favorites, actually. Again, it's not stadium related, it's just awesomeness related. This is a VIP pass at the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York. In fact, you can even see there's some Hall of Fame stuff on the lanyard right here. There was basically a film festival, and one of those films was about me. So that's why the Hall of Fame invited me up and gave me some special access. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So we'll just slide all these things back over. I think that's it. I've been promising for a while to do a video on my collection of lineup cards. I promise it's coming soon, maybe in the next few weeks, month or two. I'm still gathering them up, doing some research, making notes. And if you guys have other ideas for videos, as always, leave a comment. I welcome your suggestions. I actually do have a ton of videos. So even though I'm home right now and not going to games, I promise there's gonna be a lot more baseball related videos and of course some random ass videos sprinkled in too. So that's about it for now. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and have as much fun as you possibly can at home. I'm out.